So in concluding then, I think I want to toss this back to Andy and ask him, STEM is very important. STEM is important in our growth, and as a state among the states that we compete with and globally. How is K through 12 in Virginia doing with regard to STEM? When students go out to find a job, are they ready after graduating?
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So I guess the best way to think about that is just to take a look back at the data real quick. And look, in some cases, we're doing a tremendous job. On that U.S. News list, Thomas Jefferson is always, right up there at the top nationally. Sorry, I'm demonstrating my bias towards apples. Yeah, it's in Alexandria. So in some ways, it's the conversation we're having. Incredible examples, world-class examples. TJ, very good school. But you look at this data, like those kids, they're not going to be pursuing STEM careers. The kids who aren't at this proficient level. And so I think about this a little bit differently. Right now, our policies, they're all about trying to incentivize kids by the end of high school that maybe they want to choose a STEM career or even in college. And I happen to think that, people choose things for different reasons. I mean, look at myself. Hell, I wanted to be a forest ranger. I went to school to study resource economics and then discovered that wasn't for me and found my way to the liberal arts. But it never occurred to me. I was never going to be a chemist or an engineer or a mathematician. Those things just didn't occur to me as things I would want to do. And they still don't. I don't look back on that with any regret. My point, I had the choices to do those things. I chose not to. These kids don't have the choice. And so I think rather to solve our STEM career, rather than trying at the margins the kids we're doing well with to convince some subset of them that they don't want to study history, they don't want to be a lawyer, they don't want to be a poet or an artist or whatever it is, they really want to go into STEM, it's these kids here who never get the choice. And by the way, if you're in 8th grade and you're not proficient and you're not hitting these marks, you're going to get into high school, you're going to take a set of courses and the scheduling all keys off of other stuff. So you're on a different track. You're not getting those advanced courses. And so it's these kids, it's not about sort of incentivizing them. It's about very early on setting them up to be able to make that choice. And so I think like our future, if you want to close that gap, it's these kids. It's these kids here. Start to move that bar up. And some percentage of them, just like some percentage of students now, will say, you know what, I want to go into a STEM career. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a scientist. I want to do those things. And you see this in places where they're closing gaps in doing this. These kids go off. University of Maryland, Baltimore campus is sort of probably the best example in the country of this. They produce more African-American PhDs, any other institution, and frankly, than a lot of other institutions all piled together. People, given the choice to make this, they'll make the choice. But right now, these kids don't have the choice. Should we open? Yeah, so, and we want to go ahead and open up to questions. So I think there's some roving mics, but I can repeat yours back. Quick question. Sure.
Thank you, Andy and Christina. I appreciate the sharing of the information. The slide that you just had up talked a lot about what is a problem with our education system. If you take a look at the state, there are no less than 6 different ways to calculate graduation rates. And the reason that is it keeps superintendents and school board members elected and in jobs. We continue to bury our head when we take a look at the national information. We all talk. One more.
No, go ahead. No,
go ahead.
Just signaling a mic runner to the back.
Gotcha. So this is something is how do we get that courage and leadership in those positions to really tackle this issue when we create different metrics to show that we're doing well?
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 things going on. One, look, things have changed. It wasn't that long ago, and I love Chris's 1940 slide. It wasn't that long ago that a strong back, frankly, mattered more than a strong mind in terms of achieving a middle-class lifestyle. Because we were we built things, we moved things around and so forth. That's obviously changing, and Chris's presentation. So part of this is just we haven't caught up. So credentials we used to think were okay, like a GED, or all these various kinds of high school diplomas that we offer, they're not okay now. And so part of it's just things are changing. That's the first piece. The second piece is it's just hard to talk about this. So I did a presentation, Mike Singer put something on up in Arlington a few months ago, and we were just walking through some of this data. And there was somebody there from Michelle Rhee's organization. There was a few of us. We were walking through this data in a presentation, and people were just very upset that we would say this, that it was disrespectful to raise this data. You know, leadership is about having hard conversations. It's not disrespectful to raise it. It's not impugning people's hard work. It's just saying, here's where we are. And I think we need to do a better, to your question, we need to do a better job of that. And third, to me, one of the big trends, transparency is inescapable. And